Would you be Miss Lucy? I am. Hi, I'm Sharon. Sharon, nice to meet you. Hi, nice to meet you. Shantine.
We just came back from the Dominican Republic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
From where?
Are you running for something again?
Not yet.
Not yet, huh?
Celebrating 25 years.
Oh, wow.
We're
25 years of marriage, yeah.
Okay. That's good. How's the church going, man?
It's doing all right.
Good. Are you doing it full time yet?
Not quite. Not quite. Not quite. I still do other stuff.
Are you still right here in the? You were right here on for 59, right?
I have one location there, and I have another location on Florida.
Oh, so you're doing two churches now?
Yeah. Well, it's still one church, but we have an early childhood learning center.
Oh, right.
Christian name.
Right.
And that's on 59. And then we have an after school center that we do on Wilson Road.
Do you do Sundays on both places?
No, we just do Sundays on one place. Yeah. It's fun.
I wanted Eric to bring me a link.
It's good.
Yeah. It's good. I can't complain. Can't complain. Already about the signs, huh? Let's put them out again.
I wanted Paul to get the vote so bad.
47 votes. We almost. Yeah, it was really
How
close.
many?
47.
47.
Yeah.
For what? That's how many votes you got?
That's how many I lost, guys.
Oh, that's what I thought. You told me last couple of months ago.
Yeah. If you vote
You want to have Paula out?
he can't come out by the order of every vote. Well, we had one about 4 years ago, one vote.
You lost by one vote?
What's her name? I just, Arliss Bentley against Polisetto. That's how Polisetto got in office, by one vote.
Wow. You didn't prime your congregation enough, man.
Yeah. Well, a lot of my people don't live in Humble City proper.
Right.
Like, most of them don't. They live all around. They live in Kingswood. They live, like, about 5 or 6 of them live, like, right there by Humble High. Then they live just outside the city.
Humboldt Heights outside the city?
Humble High is the last thing in Humble City proper. Anything, if you go down Will Clayton, anything past Humble High, the back street from Will Clayton.
What is that?
Like, when you're coming down Wilson, the city goes out at that light to the first light and then back. And it goes all the way.
And what is that area called then? Is it another city or
It's
nothing?
just uncharted. It's nothing.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that.
So we have a lot of people that live in that subdivision right there.
But they can't vote.
But they can't vote. Like
I didn't know that.
They could throw a rock over there and be able to vote. You know, they're stones throw away.
That's crazy.
Exactly.
They know what they're doing.
Oh yeah, they keep it like that for a purpose, for a reason. Yeah.
Because you know who lives there.
Yeah. Because the people live right on the inside of that, like on Wilson and that area. Most of them are like low-income properties, and they won't vote.
But Humble want to stay a certain way with the leadership.
Yeah.
And once they have to incorporate those areas, it'll change.
Now a lot of my, like we have a child care center, and we reach out to a lot of low-income people to do that. Now, a lot of them come, but they don't vote. And you ask them, the parents, they're like, hey, you vote. I'm not registered. Oh, I got a felony. Oh, I got this. Oh, I got. It's like, so, it's crazy. They forced the runoff. She got in the runoff too. She wasn't even on the campaign. She did.
Look at this crowd.
But it cost me a
It's the fullest this room has ever been. It's wonderful to see you all. Thank you for all of you coming out. I'm John Carter, I'm the president of Delaware Democrats, and welcome. I'm sure you're here to hear about our speakers and not what I got to say, so we'll get to that in just a second. But let's start off this evening. I just want to thank everybody for coming out. We've got a lot of new faces in the room. So just a show of hands, who's first time visiting with us tonight? So we're going to start off this evening. As we all know, we lost a powerful leader for all of us in this community in the past couple of weeks. So if you all join me just for have a moment of silence for Congresswoman Sheila Jackson. Thank you. All right, well, we're going to get started tonight. We have some of our candidates that are on our 2024 ballot. We want to give them a chance to say hello and you guys get to know them. So we're going to start with Amanda Edwards this evening because she has to go to another meeting, so she's going to start us off this evening. Come on up, Amanda.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Amanda Edwards. I'm one of your former at-large Houston City Council members, and I'm standing here today because I am running to be the next Congresswoman for the 18th Congressional District. And I went first today because I've got a screening in just a little while, but also because in less than 24 hours, the precinct chairs in the 18th Congressional District will be making a critical choice. Now, as you all know, we've lost the Congresswoman. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee leaves very large shoes to fill, and we definitely want to make sure that the next person that comes into this role will honor her legacy and build upon it. That's critical, and you can hear it from me first. That is what I am committed to, is expanding and growing upon the foundation that she built. And in addition to that, we are at a crossroads. We just watched President Biden step aside and Vice President Harris emerge as the new voice that can lead this Democratic Party. And I think that if they can get it right in D.C., we can get this right in Harris County. What do y'all think? So that's what we're embarking upon. It's time for a new generation of voices to be able to emerge as well, and some new ideas so that we can get some different results in our community. So if you know anyone who is in the Congressional District 18 Precinct Chair orbit, give them a call before tomorrow at 6 and let them know that you got a chance to hear from Amanda Edwards, who is running to be their next congresswoman. So I thank you all for being so active. We've got a lot of work to do, but I don't know about you, but I'm encouraged. Are you? Yeah! All right, let's go, y'all.
Hi, Peter, you want to come on up? Hey guys, I'm Peter Filler. I am the Democratic nominee for U.S. House Texas District 2. Let's go. So just right across the way, there's a lot of Democrats. Wow, the enthusiasm, I can feel it. So I know we got 1 minute. However, I just got a question for you. So would you like an empathetic leader up there in Washington, D.C. representing you, or a know-it-all representative? Which one? Right answer. That's Mr. Filler, the voice of reason. So, unfortunately, we got Mr. Know-It-All, Dan Crenshaw, right now. Ooh. So, as much as Sheila Jackson Lee has an outstanding legacy, well, Dan Crenshaw's legacy is not so good. So I'm going to smash that and put a brand new leader, Peter Filler, the voice of reason, up there. Is that, how you like that? An empathetic leader. Someone's going to fight for women's reproduction rights and all the different rights that we've been denied and getting taken away, environmental precautions. Like he actually did a lot to try to stop our neighborhoods that are by power plants and the whole petrochemical industries. He actually voted against protecting the workers there, the people who live there. How crazy is that? I mean, if that's not a know-it-all congressperson, I know it all. He doesn't know it all. I'm Peter Filler, so I'm empathetic. I'll be there fighting for those communities, making sure the workers there have full protections and people who live around there don't have to live in agony worrying about the next environmental disaster. So again, I'm Peter Filler, the voice of reason. So if you want a true leader, vote for Peter. Peter Filler for U.S. House Texas District 2. God bless y'all. Have a great night. And we can't wait to learn more about Project 2025. We gotta fight it.
Thanks, Peter. Y'all set, Darius? All right. We have a new candidate in the house.
Good evening. My name is Darius Evans. I am running for Sheldon ISD School Board. I am a millennial educator. I am a foster parent. I have 4 beautiful boys. And I'm also a community organizer in Sheldon ISD. The reason why I'm running is because public education is under the attack. Not only is public education under the attack, but democracy itself is under the attack. We need fighters on our school boards to represent our kids, empower our parents, and also uplift our children, with their teachers included. Because right now our teachers are overworked, they're underpaid, and we need representatives for them. I'm a Democratic precinct chair, I'm a union member, and I'm ready. I'm ready to get in there and fight. So if you live in Sheldon ISD, I'm asking for your vote. I'm going to be on the November ballot, and thank you so much for having me tonight.
All the way down the ballot.
Vote all the way down the ballot. All right, do we have any other elected or candidates in the house? Don't want to miss anybody. Once? Twice? All right. Okay. So this QR code will be up several times this evening. If you scan that with your phone, you can renew or join the club. So we'll have that up several times tonight. So, question for y'all. Have you heard of Project 2025?
Yeah.
You like it? Well, as we can tell, there's a lot to unpack there. 900 plus pages of, this is a family group, so yeah, that's stuff that gets on your shoe. So we have some friends in the house that are going to talk to us tonight about Project 2025, and then maybe a little bit about what we can do about it. So, like I said, there's a lot to unpack. So I want to invite all of you to help me welcome 2 of our local educators, Diana Martinez Alexander and Michelle Palmer, and they're here to tell us all about the scourge that is Project 25.
Hi, everyone. I think this is both of our first time up here at the Ambularia Democrats, but we are both very involved with other clubs and action clubs. We're on the boards of Spring Branch and Southwest Dems, so we are thrilled to have y'all as partners in that endeavor. And we are both educators, so here we go.
Yay, educators.
We're going to start with how did we get here, and Diana is going to let you know.
So I'm gonna try to avoid just reading the screen verbatim because there's a lot of information, but I want you to get the gist of this 900 plus page document. And to give some context on how we got here, first of all, I think that progressive whites were very angry at the decision of Brown v. Board. So they pulled out all the stops to try to recapture their superiority and segregation and codify it through a back door, right? So if you think of like areas like Hedwig Village, the Memorial Villages, Piney Point, Brown v. Board was in 1954. Guess when they filed for their incorporation? Like 1954, 1955, and they were using other tools. So the Heritage Foundation was born out of that desire to try to maintain the system of white supremacy. Then if you look at the Reagan era and how when he got into power, embracing the religious right and using that structure to further their expansion of power. And so it's taken decades to get to this point. But here we are, and we go into the thought of dominionism, which I'll go into a little bit more. Next slide. So it took years to enforce Brown v. Board, but basically the whole system of vouchers is trying to kind of resuscitate that separate but equal idea, okay? And this is unacceptable to me as a public school teacher, but it should be unacceptable to all of us as defenders of democracy. Next slide. So this is Paul Weyrich, the Free Congress Foundation founder. Excuse my French, but this shit is crazy, researching all of the stuff that they said and what they believe and to what lengths they will go to make it happen. It's wild. So if you have a chance to look up the Heritage Foundation and the Free Congress movement, it's a lot, you know. So incorporated in our presentation, we have a few levity breaks because it's very heavy. It's a lot of, it carries a lot of trauma for some people because these policies hurt people. And we can't take that for granted because these are all words on a page, but when they get put into practice, it causes pain and it's evil. You can only go back to family separation to think about that, right? So, Reagan. Part of building his power was kind of undermining other sources of power. So when we talk about the air traffic control incident, the fairness doctrine, those things were integral in kind of maintaining balance. Work to those things, which kind of set the stage for how things are now. Okay. All right, so again, Free Congress Foundation, we need to break down before we build up. That means they're trying to cause discord, cause confusion, sow chaos, because it's easier for them to rebuild from that place. And we've seen it, we've lived it. That's what the trauma that we've been experiencing, especially since the first Trump administration, right? Dominionism. This is something that you're hearing a lot about when it comes to some of these school boards that are right-wing. They don't really care about anything but their vision, and you can protest, you can speak up, but it doesn't sink in because their value and their vision is about what they conceive of Christian nationalism, basically, and that they will have dominion over everything and all of this. We can't take questions, but
The question is a comment is happening in our lives right now.
yes, Cy-Fair, Spring Branch. I live in Spring Branch and I work in Cy-Fair, so I'm getting hit twice. And Katie, it's all been in the news. Humble, Conroe, book bans. That's where it's at. This is it in practice. All right. What a relief this guy is, right? The dad and the kid. I would definitely call him if I had a flat. He would fix it, no problem. But don't give him any salsa. He can't handle it. He can't even handle black pepper. He's got a tender tongue. But I like him anyway.
I'm gonna take some.
All right, turning it over to Michelle.
All right. Thank you very much. So, Trump stated in an article in 2019 that the Article 2 of the Constitution, which is the part that sets up, I'm a government teacher, so it's the part that sets up what the executive branch's rights are, like what the power is. He said that it granted him, as president, the right to do whatever he wanted, basically. It's a common claim by supporters of the unitary executive theory. The unitary executive theory is bunk, but it is basically the idea that the president doesn't need the other two branches of government. They can do everything they want by themselves. But those of us who took history know that the founders wanted separation of power. They wanted checks and balances, right?
No kings here.
No kings here, exactly. All right, now lately the Democrats have kind of responded to Project 2025 by creating their own committee or task force. They can't create a committee because they're not in charge of Congress, but they can create a task force, and Jerry Huffman is the one in charge. And he quoted, "Project 2025 is more than an idea. It is a dystopian plot that's already in motion to dismantle our democratic institutions, abolish checks and balances, chip away at church and state separation, and impose a far-right agenda that infringes on basic liberties and violates public will. It's an unprecedented embrace of extremism, fascism, religious nationalism, orchestrated by the radical right and its dark money backers. We need a coordinated strategy to save America and stop this coup before it's too late." All right, so an overview of Project 2025 is, we all know the Republican Party likes to claim to be for states' rights, but, and this document is no different, but it's only states' rights for the things they want to be states' rights. Yeah. All right. So, on to Section 1. Section 1 I call the purge. They want to fire 50,000 bureaucrats, experts in their various fields that work for the executive branch, and to replace them with 50,000 party loyalists. It is horrifying. And it's in all kinds of different departments. But the number is 50,000.
Just bring Putin in.
Yes.
Yeah, really.
There you go. And some of the Supreme Court cases that have come out lately have supported that. Like the immunity, we all know the immunity case, right? Like that case. The Chevron deference case, that sort of thing. All right, so Schedule F is a new type of federal employee. and it's what we're talking about here, this last line. It would reclassify 50,000 career civil servants as political appointees with no protections from getting fired, and it would create a massive exodus of competence. One of the big things is that, and I think it's on a later slide, they have created a kind of LinkedIn, so like a right-wing version of LinkedIn, where you can apply to be on the list to take these 50,000 jobs day one. And they have filled 10,000 of those spaces. They are also not only getting applicants, but they are training them in how to override what the experts in the administration want to do, or what their job is to do, to basically make your will override anybody else's. They also want to return to a test that used to be given called the PACE test, which was found to be super racist, and that's why it was canceled under Carter. But they want to return to it, because of course they do. And they also want to return to Trump's order that required agencies to reduce the amount of time that employees had to, if they had a bad review, to improve their performance before they get fired. They want to reduce it to like 3 months. They also want to reinstate Trump's 3 executive orders that devastated union power. All right, and it completely circumvent Congress. Congress can create whatever budget they want to create. The Constitution says that the budget is the job of Congress, because they wanted, the founders wanted it to be the part of the government that was closest to the people. And this basically makes it so that Congress can pass whatever budget they want, but under the unified executive theory, the president can ignore that, the executive branch can ignore that, and just spend the money however they want. Remember, during Trump's term, he spent defense money on the border wall, right? It's the exact same thing. All right. They also want to weaponize the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget. They basically wanted, there's a quote in the from the book, the OMB is a president's air traffic control system with the ability and charge to ensure that all policy initiatives are flying in sync, and with the authorities to let planes take off, and at times ground planes are flying off course. So basically, if the president doesn't want it done, then the OMB needs to make sure it doesn't get done. If the president wants it done, then the OMB has to make sure it does get done, whatever that takes. The national drug policy. One of the big things here is that they want to stop giving grants to people, to organizations that fight addiction and things like that. Really, one of the only things that they think is important in national drug policy is taking mifepristone off the market. That's really the only thing that they care about. Gender policy. So Biden created a gender policy council. They want to replace that with a life and family policy or organization to coordinate any issues that they see related to life and family, and it was all kinds of things. It was like keeping up with how many children people are having, and like on average in each state, how many abortions, how many miscarriages, how many pregnancies, all kinds of very personal data. They wanted to make sure to
all based on Christians in this country. You know, these people need to.
Yes, agreed. Next is the vice president's office. They really want the vice president to be super involved from day one. And they don't say this, but there's a very good reason for that. Heritage Foundation picks the vice president almost every time there's a Republican president.
Trump's a puppet of them, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
And the Supreme Court.
He is not the only one. Almost every Republican president in the last 30 years is a puppet of the Heritage Foundation. Yes. Exactly, Supreme Court comes from there. So the Department of Defense, there's a lot of stuff they talk about in the Department of Defense. They're really big on more nuclear weapons, which makes no sense. They do want to acknowledge that China is a big threat in Asia, even though Trump loves China. But he wants to put a tax on anything that comes from there. So he wants to, the whole NATO thing where he doesn't want basically us to exist, or NATO to exist, is another one. And he wants every single high school student, public high school student, to take ASVAB. I am vociferously against this. My district gives it to every single student except for the high flyers, and I think it's horrible. Oh, they also want to take that trans students out. And on to Diana.
Okay, so a lot of the information here on the Department of Defense, the thing that really caught my attention was removing transparency of weapons development and making the process more expedient and removing transparency and safeguards. So we could be like the arsenal of democracy, and that confused me. And also expanding our nuclear capacity, which scares the shit out of me. Like, who wants that? Who wants that control? Who wants Trump to be in control of that, right?
Never. The guy's an idiot.
Right. And so removing trans service members from the armed forces seems like an assault to me. They're very disrespectful. So overall, they want to de-woke the military and make sure that they install generals, like reduce the number of generals, so the ones that are in power are the ones who are most loyal to Trump. But there's a reason why we have that separation of powers, so we don't have that control of some maniacal leader, right? Okay, so Homeland Security. Now, I'm sure you've seen at the rallies, they have the signs that say mass deportation. They're saying it right there, right? We have around 11 million migrants in our country, and they're pledging to remove 20 million. They're also making it more difficult for people to receive visas if they've been victims of violence, sexual assault, political violence, and this most affects women and children, right? We all remember the videos of family separation and how devastating that was. And even now, some families have not been reunited. I believe there's a great deal that they're working on trying to reunite them. He's saying it all. This is what he wants. It's a scapegoat to pinpoint this community and say they're the cause of your problems. Not so. Not so. So if we look at the bill that was attempted to be passed and then Trump called it off because he wants to continue using this as a campaign issue, but he wants to create an environment where, the scene with, I don't want to relive the trauma, but some of the horrible actions of the Border Patrol would be the norm. And I simply can't accept that. As a daughter of immigrants, I simply cannot accept that. That's why I got into activism in the first place when he started using the anchor baby, because I'm an anchor baby. We cannot accept this as the truth of our America, what is done in under our name. Okay, moving on. Another levity break. All right.
And we're gonna,
We can't read it.
Oh, read them to you?
Yeah.
So the first one is when Taraji P. Henson talks about Project 2025 on the BE. It was amazing, and searches for Project 2025 afterwards soared. I'm just absolutely, it was a vertical line in how many people were searching for it. She did us all a huge, huge favor. And then the other one, I don't have my glasses on, so I bring a sort of we should feed every kid vibe to the state of Minnesota that weird people don't really like. That's another Tim Walls. Go ahead. All right, so Department of Homeland Security.
Oh, wait, that's me.
That's still Diana.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so for Homeland Security, I did mention that they want to make it harder to apply for visas, but they also want to require a tool called E-Verify. Have y'all heard of E-Verify?
Yeah.
So they want to require that for anyone asking for aid from FEMA. Well, who is not going to be able to access that then? So if you're hurting the vulnerable and leaving them out of the process and saying you can't get funds because you can't prove your status, well, bullshit. Exactly. Sorry, I'm just gonna tell you that. Another issue is that they want to require the IRS to share their information with ICE. And you know that when you can file with not just a social security number, but there's another number that you can use that many people use to file their taxes and have for decades. But you know, they want to keep track of that data. I don't trust them with that data. Okay? And they want to merge all immigration agencies, and you know, there's just a lot of distrust there because look at what they did last time they had power.
Kids in cages, yeah, really good job.
Oh, one other thing, they want to privatize TSA screening. So that to me, like whenever you say privatize, I say grift, right?
Yeah.
So that's an issue for me because that's something that I think we do need, and if we don't have government standards, then there's you know, room for things to fall within the cracks, and we need that security.
Well, if you look at the state of Texas, they have all that information. Those people who, in addition to Social Security, PIN numbers, they have it, and you audit, and they sit there, and the state does that, not just national. And it's not just they want to do it, it's being done.
Yeah.
So they want to make it harder for people to apply for DACA, which is deferred. Okay, but okay, thank you. Because they want to reduce the staff number of hours, so that's going to make it harder for people to reapply for their DACA status. And in addition, if you make a mistake on your application, you're required to leave the country until it can be fixed, but there's a backlog. So anything and everything to make the process more difficult, more challenging, more punitive, they have it in mind.
They don't really want that.
So, in summary, immigrants bad, get them out, they are the scapegoats, the boogeyman, the unworthy. Period. Okay. So for the Department of State, now, again, this is a repeat of what we've heard from Trump already. He wants to require more funds for participation in NATO, blame Mexico for fentanyl, and all of this creates a bad blood between us and other countries. But I guess part of the America First doctrine is just to make everyone mad so they don't want to be anywhere around you, but that's not good for us, right? We need cooperation. In addition, they want to reconsider funding for the World Health Organization and any other organization that provides help, medical assistance. If they adopt, they're going to make them adopt like more forced birth type policies in order to retain funding, which that's just a way to oppress people and women worldwide.
That sounds very Hitlerish.
Yes. Okay, is this, oh, so this happened in July in Dallas. There was a Trump plane.
Oh,
Yes.
we didn't ignore that. Oh, no.
Yes, but the press didn't really cover it. Did you want to say anything else about that, Michelle?
No, it just annoyed me that the press didn't come to.
Okay. Next slide.
We do listen up to each other.
Okay, so for the intelligence community, in that standpoint, we already know that Trump wants to utilize any intelligence and any information he can to punish his enemies, get retribution, right? Okay, so the United States Agency for Global Media will have to report to the president. Right now, it's under its own jurisdiction. So any way that he can try to assert control with these different governmental agencies, either by installing his own people there, creating that power over what they do, he wants to do it. Yes. So, another thing is punishing his enemies. He sees PBS and NPR as his enemies, so he wants to zero out funding for those programs, which include Sesame Street and all of those things that are instrumental in early childhood education. Okay, so for the Agency for International Development, again, the lens is promoting his vision, right? So if you don't go along with what his people say, what he wants, then he's going to make things more difficult for you. So in his personnel practices, Schedule F, he's Schedule F-ing it up all over the place. Right? So, and there's the attitude that any mention of climate change is a problem because it hurts business, right? And it's not, NOAA, right? They are a problem because they spread fear instead of thinking of like information and facts. Okay, so if we look at the bottom one says funding faith-based and local orgs for medical services, which means that they want to put money in non-secular organizations, which again, that feeds into that forced birth type mentality. Okay, it's a problem.
Texas already does it. Our tax money goes to those crisis family centers.
I need a lefty break. Okay, so Kamala Harris, and I did not know this, I learned this yesterday. She loves Venn diagrams. Like, she gets excited about Venn diagrams. As a teacher, I love that she loves Venn diagrams. And then we have Tim Walz appropriately using that couch.
All right. Oh my God. Section 3, the general welfare. So this is where the Education and Health and Human Services departments come in for now. Because they want to kill the Education Department and the Commerce Department, because the Education Department is funding a cultural revolution. That's right, I, as a teacher, am funding a cultural revolution, and I'm very proud of it. Social studies power right there. So they also want to be allowed to deploy the U.S. military to fight against people like Diana and I, who go out and protest, as I'm sure some of you have done as well. The U.S. military should never be used against protesters. It is our First Amendment.
Our taxes pay for those guys, don't they?
He also, as Diana mentioned earlier, wants to get rid of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which is what tells us there's a hurricane coming. I don't know about y'all, but living in the Houston area, we probably kind of need to know that there's a hurricane coming. Because they are part of the climate change alarm industry. He wants to get rid of Head Start completely, so we know what that would do to people. And as I said, take the reproductive healthcare task force that Biden created and make it into a pro-life or forced birth task force. He wants to defund the Department of Justice and to dismantle the FBI. Not completely, we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but mostly dismantle it. And he thinks, or they think pornography should be outlawed, but they don't ever mention pornography or what pornography is. They don't describe it. So they get to decide. Their courts get to decide what that is. Yeah, there's where Trump added the little Sharpie arrow. There you go. All right. So as I said earlier, they are assembling a database of prospective hires. They have already found 10,000 to fill the 50,000 spots. And they want to, they're already starting to train them. And they just dropped, somebody, I guess, went through the program that was not supposed to, and copied 14 hours of the training videos, and they're online now. So if you want to figure out what they're doing, that's what you can go do. I'm not going to watch it.
It was on Democracy Now! Today, I saw it.
Was it? Good.
Yeah.
Needs to go watch them, I think, except for me, because I can't do that. And then the FDA, you know, because they want to be able to take experts out and put political appointees in, that includes the FDA. Day one, they will outlaw misoprostone, and I can never say the other one, the two abortion drugs. And one of the famous sayings by one of the people that wrote this is, families of the West are not having enough babies for their societies to endure. Thank you.
It's their own fault.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't. Yeah. The Family Research Council. So it's primarily written by Heritage Foundation, but there's like 25 or 30 different right-wing think tanks that participated. And the Family Research Council is one of them, which is a hate group, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center. And this one amuses me, and I just put it in here because it amuses me. The Family Research Council. And so what they have a newspaper called the Washington Stand, and in it claimed that the left secured Trump's 34 convictions through witchcraft. So congratulations, we are all witches apparently. All right, Department of Agriculture. There's a lot of stuff in here that people don't realize is under the Department of Agriculture. So those of us who are teachers know what Title I is. Title I is a lot of funding for schools, and it's for free lunches and things like that. It's basically there to help equalize the education system for those who don't have enough money. So schools that have a high poverty level get a lot of money for Title I. And they often use that money to hire more teachers, so classroom sizes get smaller, which is, by the way, the #1 predictor of how well students will do on any kind of test. Although Republicans would admit that. But also they can use it for just about anything, as long as it's extra. Title I money can only be extra. It can't just use this money instead of state money. Not allowed to do that. The USDA, they want to narrow their job. They don't want them to, you know how they have the food pyramid and then they have the food cube and they keep changing it. They don't want the government to be involved in that at all. If you want to know what a healthy diet looks like, just Google it. That's basically what the federal government, what Project 2025 wants. They don't want the government to create any sort of dietary guidelines. They also want for the EPA, they want to basically get rid of the EPA and make it so that the only job of the EPA is to support local versions. But we all know that TCEQ is completely and utterly useless, so there would be nothing to support. And more cancer clusters like that in East Houston would happen, and nobody would do anything about it.
That would be.
They want to remove any obstacles for GMOs. Here in the United States, we don't really do a whole lot about GMOs, but they want to convince other countries that have outlawed them to un-outlaw them, and things like that. If those countries want to outlaw them, then that's fine for them. They want to increase sales of timber from national forests.
Oh my God.
National forests. Teddy Roosevelt is rolling in his grave. Let's see. They want, since some states like Texas, I'm very proud to say that we have not yet allowed for vouchers. In states like ours, they want to create federal vouchers so that if your state does not allow for vouchers, the federal government will give you money to send your kid to a Christian school. So, not a fan. They want no programs to forgive student loans. That means not for first responders, not for teachers, not for anyone. And they want FAFSA, which is the program where students apply for Pell Grants. They want that to be a separate government corporation. And like Diana said, that means grift.
Question, Michelle.
Yes.
If they eliminate the Department of Education, what does that mean for special education?
Okay, so for special education is like a lot of the, and I'll talk about this later, but there are a lot of rules, and like one of the things like the FBI, they want the FBI to only concentrate on violent crime. They want to fire all the lawyers that work for the FBI, no civil rights anything, no white collar crime, because that's what Trump and his cronies do, and so forth. And it's similar. There would be nobody at the federal level to fight for those students and those parents. Right.
Well, just like Trump told his nephew,
Right.
said, oh, why don't you just let him die?
Yes.
I mean, it's just disabled.
So Department of Energy, they want more Arctic drilling, including in Alaska. They want more oil, gas, coal, all the things that we have been lowering by doing such an amazing job here in Texas of wind and solar. They want to increase all of that. They want to repeal the Infrastructure Act and the Jobs Act that were passed by the Biden administration and put so much money into things we need, maybe so no more bridges fall. And Diana mentioned the nuclear warheads. They're big, they want more of that. No green subsidies. Get rid of the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty so that you can test nuclear weapons again. So EPA, they want to ignore science, of course. Significantly downsize it. The civil rights part of the EPA, get rid of that. Incentives for the this was the one that got me, the last one. Incentives for the general public to legally challenge research in climatology. So they want to do something for you to get you to sue people who say climate change exists and have science to back it up. Barf. Yeah. Department of Health and Human Services. So no vaccine requirements, bring everybody back that got fired for not getting the vaccine in the military, and pay them back pay and all of that stuff. They want to use the HHS to promote the nuclear family structure. It doesn't really say details about how they want to do that, but they want to promote the nuclear family structure. No lowering drug prices for Medicare. They really want to promote private insurance. So I think it's Medicare Part D is the private insurance you have to pay for. They really want to go that route instead of government supported. And they blame the HHS. So apparently, and I don't think this is actual fact, but this is what it says in Project 2025. They say that the lifespan went down by 7 years during COVID. It's true. It did go down. But now it's 7 years.
But that's only by 2 years.
Probably.
With their people.
I mean, there's a reason for that, right? Because they were the ones not getting the vaccine. And they blame the HHS for that. So, I don't know. I think I can blame some stupidity and not listen to science.
Oh, there you go.
And they blame the excess deaths during COVID on government shutdowns rather than on COVID. And they want to report, this part here, I was talking about it earlier, they want to require every state to report how many abortions happen in the state each year by category and by gestational age. So miscarriages, every kind of thing.
What are they going to do with that information?
That's the thing. They want to take away reporting of things like disparate impact, which tells you if a law is going to differently impact Black from white from Latino or men from women or whatever. But they want to start taking information on things like this.
Forced sterilization is just another step away from there.
All right. Yeah, you
Used to do that in the.
all right.
mentally ill people.
This was just me putting it in here. In June, Supreme Court punted a case back to Idaho, which was covered as, and the media covered it as a case allowing emergency abortions in case of women needing to protect their lives. But in fact, that's not actually what that did. By punting it back, they did not give any standards in what situations the hospitals have to interfere and when they don't. And if a doctor doesn't know, they're just not going to. So the infant mortality rate in Texas since this law went into effect has gone up 18%. Maternal mortality has gone up 9%. These are real numbers that the other side is ignoring and that we need to advertise constantly.
Where can we get that data to share that?
I mean, it's all over the internet now, because I think that data just dropped like 2 days ago. So it's starting to get all over social media now. I'm not entirely sure what the immediate source or the real source of it was, because I saw it on a couple of different social medias. But it's pretty horrifying. I mean, Texas already had a ridiculous maternal mortality rate. They support the rhythm method of birth control. But I remember the old joke that you thought people that use the rhythm method, parents. There was no funding at all for Planned Parenthood, but in a lot of neighborhoods, that is the only place for women to get any kind of health care. They also want the HHS to make sure that no medical schools provide training to upcoming doctors in how to provide abortion care. They want to lower the federal funding for child care to force women to stop working. That's right. They want to lower funding for child care to force women to stop working. That's correct. And then this last part is mostly a quote. This last part is mostly a quote. They want to take out any mention of the terms sexual orientation, gender identity, diversity, equity, inclusion, gender equality, gender equity, gender awareness, gender sensitive, abortion, reproductive health, reproductive rights, out of all federal rules, agency regulations, contracts, grants, regulations, or pieces of legislation that exist. All right. As I said, immediate withdrawal of approval for the 2 medication abortions, the drugs. Also, they want a new rule that you cannot not only mail the abortion drugs, but any material, any like equipment used in abortion, you can't mail it, which would basically make abortion illegal nationwide.
Comes to the next.
Again.
Comstock rule, right?
Comstock rule.
Comstock rule, yeah. They want to prohibit fetal tissue research, and they want to reverse the decision on the EMTALA, which is the law that says if you go to an emergency room and you're dying, they have to help you. They want it to the decision to be if you go to the emergency room and your fetus is dying, they have to help the fetus.
You should take care of the fetus.
Yes. Your body is necessary to keep the fetus alive, but they don't care about that. Can we take a
like a 10-second break. Y'all turn to your neighbor, come up with one word. You need some water, right? Because this is a lot and there's a lot more in this section, so take 10 seconds, talk to your neighbors. There's nuts.
Nuts.
I'll take it.
Wake up.
I know it. You wonder. You wonder.
All right. I am better.
Thank you, thank you.
We're Democrats. We have more than one floor.
Yes.
Okay, y'all, can you come back, please?
All right, just bought a book from Barnes and Noble.
If Trump gets elected,
Yeah.
I don't think he'll live long.
It's why you must
Somebody should
reject
take it
this
out.
radical
Because this
agenda.
can't fly here in
And
this
it's
country.
like a synopsis of
Yeah.
everything that you're going through.
Yeah.
The author is Karen Cullen, Project 2025, Why You Must Reject This Radical Agenda. I bought it from Barnes and Noble, it's an ebook, $5, and it was, I mean, it's pretty cool. So,
We definitely need to be able to fight back on this data. I don't remember if Diana has already said it or she's gonna say it, but one of the big things, and one of the things that has really made a lot of Republicans mad, is the part about lowering benefits for veterans. They want them to get a smaller pension and lower benefits. That has really made a lot of Republicans mad. So, all right. On to the HUD, Housing and Urban Development. One of the big things in this section is that they want to put a lifetime limit on the amount of time you can spend in any kind of government housing. So that means if you were born in government housing, you might hit that limit, by the time you're like 20. I don't know. They didn't say what the limit would be.
That's true, though.
They also want to do that on any kind of government, like healthcare, like ACA or anything like that, or Medicare, Medicaid. If you, they want to put a lifetime limit. If you have a child who is born with a disability, they could hit their lifetime limit by the time they leave the hospital. So,
Bullshit.
they want to prohibit any immigrants, including mixed status families. So if dad is not a citizen, but the rest of the family is, they would not be able to live in government housing. Yep. And they will also want to, this one annoyed me, this last one, because I'm about the house. They want to make your mortgage insurance higher if your mortgage is more than 20 years, because they want people to take out shorter mortgages. So what that means is that those of us who are teachers and such and can't afford a 20-year mortgage and need a 30-year mortgage would not be able to get one. Department of the Interior, so look at all the regulations on fossil fuels and probably get rid of them. Prevent states from adopting stricter regulations on vehicular emissions like California has. No more coal moratorium, allow leases in national parks, again, poor Teddy Roosevelt. Change the rules regarding endangered species and migratory birds so that they are not protected from any businesses that want to build there. Department of Justice. So one of the biggest ones in here is they want to use the FBI against the people, like the SS. They really want to use it like the SS. And they also want to take away a lot of the FBI's power. They also want to put a person in charge that's a political appointee rather than an expert, so that the president can fire them if they don't like them. Because currently that's difficult because they have a 10-year term. Oh, please, I don't want to vomit. Paxton as the head of the FBI or the AG. Yeah. All right.
All around.
They also want to deploy, we have an amazing county attorney, and we're about to get an amazing district attorney. I'm not a fan of the current one. But they want to sue DAs in sanctuary cities or that refuse to prosecute whatever law they like. They want to be able to sue those DAs. They want to be able to remove them from office and replace them with a puppet. So that those of us who live in lovely blue areas, it wouldn't matter. We don't get our way. And I mentioned this earlier, but they want to transform the Civil Rights Division of the DOJ to prosecute, oh, I didn't mention this part, to prosecute institutions and organizations that promote diversity because it violates the civil rights and equal protection of white people. You know that meme that says, do you ever WTF white people when you are white people? I feel like I put that meme on some social media every day. So one of the big things is that, you know, the Supreme Court just said that you can outlaw being homeless, right? And so one of the big things is that this would really be affected by that because, you know, the Department of Justice can come in and just arrest all of the homeless people, right? To fill up those private prisons that they have that they need to keep full because they have contracts.
Free labor.
Yes, free labor. If you have not watched the documentary 13th, it's on Netflix, please go do so, it's amazing. I showed it in my government class. So federal enforcement of civil rights in schools, what Diana was talking about earlier, would basically go away because the Department of Justice currently does that and they would stop doing it. When somebody violates the Crown Act, like here in Texas, there just wouldn't be a Crown Act because it wouldn't be, you wouldn't be able to actually prosecute somebody for taking away that person's civil rights. 504, yeah, for those of you who are unaware, 504 is a law that protects people with a disability in schools, and I'm sure that they would not actually do that. Yes, they barely do it now. They would also use the Justice Department to overturn constitutional limits that were established by previous Supreme Courts because they don't want to do that. And both Heritage Foundation and Donald Trump are obsessed with the death penalty. They really want to add more things that can get the death penalty, more crimes that can get the death penalty, and the 44 people that are currently sitting on federal death row in the United States, they want to go ahead and kill them all. While in the last 6 months of Donald Trump's presidency, he found out that we had all these people on death row, and he put, I think it was 13 to death in that 6-month period. And there had not been anybody killed on federal death row in a very long time. There's just a ton of times where you see current crime wave quoted. I mean, if you go to the document and search current crime wave, there's pages of instances where they talk about it. But the data does not support that. There is no current crime. Crime is down.
Yeah.
Everywhere. On to Department of Labor. So this part was all about ending anti-white racism, DEI. Prohibiting, this is another time where they want to stop taking data, prohibit the EEOC's collection of data based on race, because then it's hard to tell if their anti-DEI policies are having any effect. If they don't take data, they can't, nobody can say you're hurting people. And as I said, forbidding the use of disparate impact in analysis. And then getting regulations based on getting rid of them based on sexual orientation, sexual discrimination, any of that, gender identity, everything. Oh, but they want to collect and release data monthly on marriage and fertility rates, share of children living with both biological parents, cost of a standard basket of middle-class essentials, share of families whose highest income worker earns more than twice the poverty threshold. Because those are the important things that you need data on, not whether or not a law is disparately impacting.
They do that in North Korea.
Right.
That is a North Korean thing.
Oh, and they want workers that work on the Sabbath to be paid time and a half. And it doesn't say on Sunday, it just says the Sabbath, so Sabbath could be different for different people. How are companies gonna keep up with that, even if you did wanna do it? But also, atheists exist in our society.
That's right.
So what, I know. So how does that work? Do they just get a random day where that works? Yeah. They also want to remove regulations that keep teenagers from working in hazardous jobs because they want to kill my students. They want to lower funding for unemployment insurance, gut the LRB because that protects unions, privatize government employee pensions and retirement accounts, grift, cap and phase down worker visas, and all, this is impossible. All new federal contracts should require American-owned companies who employ a minimum of 70% Americans, increasing to 95% in 10 years. I mean, that's going to be virtually impossible to find for some of these huge companies, international corporations. All right, transportation. Pete Buttigieg. Purview. So instead of grants, they want everything to be like a toll road, so the user fees. So instead of giving you a grant, you have to take out a loan and then charge people to use whatever it is and pay it off that way. And then they only want to give projects to companies that are familiar with the risks, which means huge companies, like Halliburton's wet dream. Reduce fuel economy standards, separate the FAA from the DOT, and require it to work like a business. I'm sure you'll love that one. Oh, I bet. Grants to states instead of funding transit programs. So you give a grant to the state decides what to do with it. Is the state of Texas going to do what we want them to do with it? No. Also possible. And then I talked about the VA lowering retirement and disability benefits, but they also want to shift the VA to being private sector, grift. So I mean, just so many chances for people to steal. There you go, levity
We
break.
needed a levity break.
Joy versus suffering.
That was a hard section. Can we hear it from Michelle, because that was a tough section.
It's Doug Imhoff is not the most joyous person. I adore him.
Okay, so Michelle mentioned something about monies being spent on this and that, and so I wanted to bring up the economy. One thing that Trump is touting is a 10% across the board tax on imports, which is going to be a huge detriment to us. It's going to make other countries upset with us. It's going to upset the balance of trade with other countries, triggering a possible trade war, right? And it's going to be a cost to the average family of about $1,500 a year. All of this, at the same time, he wants to lower the corporate tax. So again, it's just for, money's for his cronies. I mean, it's just like Tammany Hall all over again, right? Tammany Hall, yes. All right, so he wants to abolish the Federal Reserve, and Michelle and I were laughing. I was like, oh my gosh, he wants to go back to the gold standard? It didn't work before. Why would we try to do it again? Because he wants to make America great again. He thinks he has a brilliant idea, blah, blah, blah.
He's an idiot.
Yes. Okay, so he's going to continue his war against companies like TikTok and ban them because TikTok is being used as a platform to further democracy. You know that, right?
Gotta watch those people.
Gotta watch those people. So anything that he can do to try to make that difficult and wield those powers to limit that and expand the wealth of the 1%, the rich, while not really caring about the rest of us. Okay, so one other point here is that the department would also be filled with political appointees. So again, his guys in there. Okay, so the Census Bureau, you know how there was that whole conversation about the citizenship question, and there was a lawsuit to fight that. I was one of the plaintiffs in that lawsuit, and we won, right? But he wants to bring that citizenship question back, of course, because we got to keep track of that. So let's see. He wants to require a 3/5 vote in the Senate and the House to raise any tax rate. And Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, Fannie Mae, those are programs to help people become homeowners. So of course he wants to cut those. He wants to get rid of those and privatize them. Grift. Okay. So he wants to interview every single Treasury employee who participated in DEI measures to make sure that stops, because we can't have that. We can't have that in that department. So I don't want to read all these things, y'all. The economy and people who work in this department, they have years of research, years of expertise, and just to discount that and fill the department with people who will parrot your ideas. We want people who think like him, making those decisions? No, not with our money. Like, we have to be able to count on our American dollar. If we can't do that and we lose the trust of other countries, we're in trouble. We're in trouble.
Exactly how we react.
All right, so to sum up, Trump is good at business, bigly good. He employs the best people. Trust him to make the decisions on the economy, taxes, and interest rates. He got it. He got it. Levity break. We have Kamala announces Tim Walz as VP, and then they say, very precious. Okay. All right. So, this is it.
All right. This is the last section of Project 2025. Section 5. This is the independent regulatory agencies. We've talked about deregulation, deregulation, deregulation. So you can imagine where this is going. So I talk about how the Chevron deference case getting booted in June. A lot of what they want to do is accomplished just by that. You've gotten rid of the power of regulatory agencies. So get rid of a lot of the sources of funding from federal oversight, which means and reporting requirements. Repeal Dodd-Frank. The last time we repealed anything from Dodd-Frank, 2008 stock market crash. The SEC, however, should collect data on the actual cost of complying with regulation, because that's more important than actually regulating anything. And then shortening the maximum time for an SEC investigation to only 2 years. These huge, complicated, think about the case against Trump Incorporated. That had to have taken 5 years of investigation because it was so complicated. That could never happen again if they actually follow through with that. Of course, get rid of one of my favorites, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Completely get rid of it. It says duties returned to the FTC, but we all know that the FTC didn't actually do anything with those duties. So, and then repeal the Dodd-Frank section on small business data collection because we don't want to know anything about how small, but they're not the backbone of the American economy or anything. All right, FCC. communications. So this is a lot about the various social media companies and Google and all the big tech companies, right? They want to require TikTok to be sold, but we know that that law was already passed, so that's going to happen. They also want to get rid of any of these two Chinese companies' gear that is used, and apparently a lot of it is used in like 5G equipment. So we don't have anything to replace that with at the moment, but they want to get rid of it and not allow it to be used just because it's Chinese made. And then they want to but they want to, at the same time
Willies.
as getting rid of that, they want to deregulate 5G building permits. So that's backwards. This is, I'm giving, if y'all want to, you can either, I don't know if you have a website, put the link on your website, put it on your Facebook, you can email it out to the people that RSVP. But some of this stuff is just that. There's actually a one-pager on one of the last slides that really gives you a lot. It's huge, of the information that you might want.
Crispy tacos.
Who has street tacos?
All right, and here's another one. Good things that come out of Minnesota, Tim Walls and Prince. I can't read it. When my friends with black jobs find out I have a white one. That was a very strange comment. Super strange. All right, and then section 7 is both of us.
Yes.
Is that what this means for Texas?
So I would say, and you probably feel it too, that we're kind of the guinea pigs for a lot of these policies already. We're living in a very oppressive time. We are protected somewhat because of us living in a bluer area. However, you know, we have our schools under attack. We have heard this before. You know, the lack of funding, the lack of respect. It's breaking our systems. And it's by design. The center point, again, lack of regulation, lack of oversight. Again, who pays for it? We do. We're going to have to end up paying more fees for Centerpoint because of their errors.
Yep.
And then we don't have, you know, electricity or basic infrastructure is suffering, but yet people are grifting off of this, right? Off of our misery. And you're here tonight because you want to hear about this, and we have to be able to share this information with other people so we can get them just as motivated to do things when it comes to get off the boat.
Absolutely. To me, that's what this is all about. Diane and I are both teachers. We love educating, but we're here educating with a purpose, right? We want to win this election. So one of the big things is marriage equality, right? We have marriage equality. Many people think it's very safe. It is not. The same exact reasoning from the Supreme Court for Roe v. Wade was used in Egberto. It is not safe. Loving is not even safe, which is interracial marriage.
Contraception?
Contraception.
Anyone?
Griswold case. All of these things, they're on the plate. And we could lose them.
That's
Okay?
Right. So, we won't go back, right? No! We won't go back. No! Take 15 seconds and tell your neighbor one thing that you're going to do because you want to fight for our democracy. Do it now. 15 seconds. Go.
Door to door.
Okay, I'm going to bring you back. I'm going to bring you back. I'm going to bring you back. Okay. Finish up. Finish up.
We normally don't have a microphone.
Okay, finish up. Back table, I see you. I need you back. Okay. I want to thank you for listening to I want to thank you for listening to all of this information. It's very heavy. It's very scary. But we don't want this. We don't need it. It needs to get out of here. It needs to get out of my face. All right? Thank you so much for listening to us.
I don't think I can follow that. I think so.
I did a good job.
Michelle, Diana, they're asking, can they have links to these slides? If they can request. No, I just want to know if it's okay to share. Okay. All right.
John.
See you afterwards, so I'll make sure. We'll get to you.